Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're absolutely demystifying something that pretty much dictates how every single one of our days unfolds, our morning energy levels. I mean, picture this, right? Your alarm goes off, you actually feel pretty decent, you have a solid breakfast, and you head out to start your day. But then, almost like clockwork, 10:30 a.m. rolls around, and bam! Your energy literally falls off a cliff. The brain fog rolls in, your focus is completely shattered, and all you want to do is curl up under your desk or, reach for a massive cup of coffee. If you've ever felt that exact mid-morning plunge, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to look at the hard, fascinating science behind the breakfast energy crash and show you exactly how you can take back your morning.
So I want to pose a question to you right off the bat. Why does your morning bowl of cereal leave you starving by 10 a.m.? Seriously, we've all been there. You eat a seemingly filling, sweet breakfast, maybe a huge bowl of frosted flakes or a toasted pastry, and barely 2 hours later, your stomach is aggressively growling. No way that should happen, right? Well, from an evolutionary standpoint, the science tells us that typical sweet and starching breakfasts give us this really quick dopamine hit. They bring us intense, immediate pleasure simply because our brains absolutely love easy calories. But while that feels amazing at 8 a.m., it leads to incredibly poor energy efficiency. You just burn through that fuel so fast that your body hits an emergency state of hunger way before lunch.
The biochemist known as the glucose goddess actually puts it perfectly. She says, a breakfast glucose spike will make us hungry again sooner, and the worse the hunger and cravings will be. You see, first thing in the morning, our bodies are in a fasted state. You've been asleep for 7 or 8 hours, your stomach is totally empty, and because of that, your digestive system acts kind of like a dry sponge. It is incredibly sensitive to glucose. Anything we eat gets digested rapidly, meaning those sugars hit our bloodstream fast and hard. That sets off a chain reaction that's going to dictate your appetite for the rest of the entire day. So to really fix that mid-morning slump, we have to understand the invisible biological metrics working beneath the surface. Section 1. The invisible roller coaster. To actually measure this roller coaster, scientists use something called the glycemic index, or GI for short. According to Harvard Health, this is a tool that measures how much a specific food boosts your blood sugar compared to pure glucose. Pure glucose is the baseline. It hits your system instantly. And honestly, the data here is absolutely fascinating when you start looking at everyday foods. For instance, research shows a serving of white rice has almost the exact same effect on your body as eating pure table sugar. Crazy, right? But why? Because the refined starches in white rice start breaking down into simple glucose molecules the literal second they hit the saliva in your mouth. By the time they reach your stomach, your body is treating them exactly like candy, causing this rapid, massive spike in your blood sugar.
The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the stark contrast between high glycemic and low glycemic foods. High glycemic foods create a volatile biological roller coaster. They heavily spike your blood glucose, which triggers a full-blown emergency response. Your pancreas totally panics and pumps out a massive amount of insulin to deal with all that sugar, which then aggressively crashes your blood sugar down way below baseline. That sudden valley, that crash, that is your 10 a.m. slump. Low glycemic foods, on the other hand, like a serving of lentils, take a lot of effort for your body to break down. They give you a steady, slow trickle of energy with a much smaller, entirely manageable insulin release. You just stay level.
Section 2. Sweet versus savory breakfasts. A SciPlanet analysis reveals a pretty clear divide in our standard cultural breakfast choices. Sweet breakfasts, so think your pastries, your cereals, pancakes completely swimming in syrup, these are heavily associated with appetite dysregulation and poor metabolic health. When you start your day like this, you don't just get hungry later, you get irritable and distracted the exact moment that massive wave of insulin takes effect. Savory breakfasts, featuring things like eggs, lean meats, and vegetables, well, they operate completely differently. Because they lack those simple sugars, they don't spike your blood glucose, which actively protects your baseline concentration levels all morning long. But a quick note of caution from the analysis. Overly rich savory meals, especially those packed with highly processed breakfast meats and high-fat cheese, can easily hide excess sodium and unhealthy saturated fats, so the quality of your savory ingredients absolutely still matters.
Okay, let's dive into this incredibly useful concept. Put clothes on your carbs. It's such a brilliant way to visualize your morning nutrition. Think about it. If you eat a piece of white toast entirely by itself, those carbohydrates are basically naked. They race straight into your bloodstream. But if you're going to have carbohydrates in the morning, you need to dress them up. By adding proteins, fats, or fibers to those carbs, you are effectively putting a barrier, or clothes, right around them. This actively slows down the digestive enzymes trying to break down the starches, which beautifully flattens out that glucose curve. It's a real game changer of a strategy that lets you enjoy your carbs without suffering the crash.
Section 3. Building a better breakfast. So how do we actually put all of this into practice? Well, it really comes down to a simple triad methodology, a rule of 3 for building a breakfast that works for your biology rather than against it. Step 1 is to build your meal around protein. Protein takes a good long time to digest and firmly tells your brain, hey, we are full. It's the centerpiece that keeps your glucose steady. Step 2 is to add a healthy fat, like extra virgin olive oil or maybe a handful of nuts. Fat actively delays gastric emptying, which just means your stomach physically empties into your intestines at a much slower rate. And step 3 is to add fiber, ideally from vegetables, though seeds work beautifully too. Fiber is practically magic because it actually forms this viscous gel in your gut, creating a physical mesh that dramatically slows down the entry of any sugars into your blood. If you hit the specific combination of protein, fat, and fiber, the science shows it'll keep you full, focused, and totally energized for up to 4 full hours. Let's look at how this methodology easily upgrades some classic breakfast traps. Take a fruit-only smoothie. Sounds super healthy, right? But because blending physically pulverizes all the fiber in the fruit, you've completely removed the barrier. It's essentially just a pure sugar spike hitting your system all at once. But swap it for a smoothie with a solid protein powder base, half an avocado for your healthy fat, and a handful of spinach for structural fiber, and boom, you instantly have steady, timed-release energy. The exact same goes for oats. Swap out those highly processed, sugar-laden instant oats for some thick steel-cut oats and pack them with walnuts and chia seeds. You've just clothed your carbs and transformed a guaranteed glucose spike into a perfectly balanced meal. Section 4. Top healthy breakfast foods. Let's transition into some rapid-fire examples of what you should actually be stocking in your kitchen to hit these targets. Here's a powerhouse grocery list straight from nutrition science. First up, eggs and plain low-fat Greek yogurt. These are incredible, highly bioavailable protein bases. Next, chia seeds. These are vital because they give you nearly 10 grams of soluble fiber per ounce. They actually expand in your stomach to keep you incredibly full. Berries are also fantastic. Yes, they're a fruit, but they're very low in sugar and absolutely packed with anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that protect your cells from damage. For your base, whole grain toast and raw nuts provide complex, slow-digesting energy. And finally, consider washing the whole shebang down with green tea. It gives you a gentle caffeine lift, but more importantly, it contains an amino acid called L-theanine. L-theanine actually crosses the blood-brain barrier to promote a state of calm, jitter-free alertness, entirely avoiding that harsh anxiety spike you sometimes get with heavy coffee.
24 grams. That number proves just how incredibly easy it is to hit your morning goals without spending an hour slaving away in the kitchen. 24 grams is the massive amount of protein in just one single cup of low-fat cottage cheese. To put that into perspective, you don't need to cook up a massive steak at 7 a.m. Just scoop some cottage cheese into a bowl, top it with some of those walnuts and berries we talked about, and you've instantly built a perfect, crash-proof breakfast in about 30 seconds. But what if you want a hot, savory breakfast and you really just don't want to eat eggs or dairy?
Section 5. The 5-minute plant-powered scramble. Let's look at a concrete, mouth-watering, real-world application of all this science from gut health dietitian Desiree Nielsen. This is her 5-minute plant-powered scramble, and it relies on beautifully simple, accessible ingredients. You just take a can of rinsed chickpeas and mash them right in a warm pan with a drizzle of olive oil, a pinch of earthy cumin, and some vibrant, anti-inflammatory turmeric. Then you simply toss in a couple of handfuls of fresh baby spinach until it wilts down. In literally under 5 minutes of cooking, you have a hearty, hot, completely plant-based scramble that seriously rivals any traditional diner breakfast.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the nutritional breakdown of that exact recipe, especially when you consider how little time it took to make. Just that simple chickpea and spinach base alone gives you 10 solid grams of protein and 6 grams of gut-healthy fiber. And that's before you even added some sliced avocado on top for those healthy fats or scooped it onto a slice of sprouted grain toast. As Nielsen points out, getting a high-fiber breakfast like this is an absolute elite move. It feeds the good bacteria in your gut right at the very start of the day, which in turn produces short-chain fatty acids that literally supercharge your energy levels for hours to come.
We've covered a ton of ground today, right? From the invisible roller coaster of the glycemic index to the powerful rule of 3 for building a better plate, and even how to perfectly clothe your carbs. So I want to leave you with this provocative question to really think about. What savory swap will you make to your breakfast tomorrow? Are you going to ditch the instant oats for a chickpea scramble? Will you add some chia seeds and cottage cheese to your routine? You've got the science, you've got the structure, and now you have the power to take back your morning and banish that 10 a.m. crash for good. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.